Folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. You're watching BKP Politics on FYNTV.com. We are focusing so much on HB, Georgia House, two bills in Georgia, HB 531 and SB 241. And we are asking you everywhere, I am asking you everywhere in America, no matter where you're at, to call Georgia lawmakers and say, don't get discouraged. Okay? Do not get discouraged. Stay strong. Pass these bills. I don't care. Fair fight. Now we're going to get ready. Emily, I sent you two videos. One is a CNN video at the top of the article, and the other one's an MSNBC, another Stacey Abrams at the top of the article. I don't know if you have to get those past commercial. I am going to call for the CNN video first. But I want to show you something. Give me number 10. Okay, this is why we're focusing on this, because it's now, folks. We need you everywhere in America to tell Georgia lawmakers to stay strong. And I'm going to give you something that's it's disappointing. That's the best I can say. Disappointing, because it involves Republicans. Give me number 10. Georgia House passes GOP bill rolling back voter access. Now, this is the week. They are down there at the Capitol. I understand. You watched Christopher Wray yesterday saying that domestic terrorism didn't just start January 6th. And you know, as soon as Merrick Garland is over at the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice, the DOJ, the three-letter agencies, the DOJ can partner up with Christopher Wray. They're coming after domestic terrorists. I got it. I'm with you. Christopher Wray said it didn't start January 6th. It's been metastasizing, okay? We know that. But the issue at hand, that's why when you go to the news, including Fox and all of them, when they're sensationalizing something here, you got to go for what is important now, what's under the layers. And this week, especially in Georgia, because crossover day, don't have time to explain that, is Monday. These bills have to finish committees. They can't get sent back to committees and watered down. They actually need stuff added to them. So this is the fight today, nationwide, Georgia. Georgia House, number 11. Georgia House, you see that right there. This is all the talk this morning, okay? Georgia House. Yes, we do know there was a rocket launch, a ballistic missiles hit Iraq. We're going to talk about that in a minute, okay? Georgia, I've got a couple more here where Georgia's concerned, and we will get back to this. Number 31, okay, Supreme Court debates if Arizona voting restrictions violates the Voting Rights Act. We're going to put the two together today, okay. Number 32, Republicans admit the real reason for election reforms. They help Republicans win. This is talking about the bill, the Arizona bill at the Supreme Court right now. And this one right here, before we go into our video, this is the one that's very disappointing. Number 34. Number 34, voting restriction bill passes Georgia House over strong opposition. Now, here's where I'm going to explain what strong opposition is. Fair fight, Stacey Abrams? Yes. NAACP? Yes. Okay? Yes. Stacey Abrams and the gang? Yes. But our sources here at BKP Politics tell us, and I can look at the camera and tell you I feel very good about what I'm about to tell you in the House, in under the Capitol, the Gold Dome in Georgia, as we call it. Governor Brian Kemp and Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan, which presides over the Senate, Governor Brian Kemp, which is putting pressure on the House. They are both putting pressure on House members 531 and Senate members 241, SB 241, to water them down. Yes, my sources say that Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, is concerned that if HB 531 and SB 241 come out and pass under their current form right now, he will be forced to sign them, and he doesn't want to. I can tell you he doesn't want to sign these in their current form, because what that will do, it will say, remember Stacey Abrams said, okay, that Georgia officials they tried to push them to do something illegal, like Brian Kemp, Raffensperger, push them to do something illegal in the last election. If Kemp signs these bills as is, it will make him look very bad, because the last 3 months, what does that say about the last 3 months? That he said, hey, we had fair, open, honest elections. So my sources say that Brian Kemp, the governor, is pushing, okay, to get these watered down. So today, this week, okay, there's no time like now. Call your friends anywhere in the United States of America and say, stay strong. Don't let the pressure get you. Pass HB 531 and SB 241 in the current form. Encourage them, because they are getting attacked. You see this in the media. Now, let me show you. This has to do with Texas, or not Texas, Arizona. They're using black voters. They always use black voters when necessary. Okay? So let's go with the CNN. I just sent you that one. Let's go with that video for a minute, and then we'll come back, because we're breaking all these down today, and we're going to get into the Supreme Court in Arizona. Go to that one right there.
The Supreme Court hearing arguments today that could weaken voting rights in Arizona, major push nationwide to make it harder for people to vote. What does this mean particularly for black voters?
Well, I think tragically, we have not had this historical opposition to our individual rights since before slavery, during the Jim Crow days, and of course the harshness of the 1960s. The tragedy of this is that an entire party, the Republican Party now, is committed to voter suppression, committed to avoiding the opportunity for votes. Donald Trump laid out the plan at the CPAC by saying he only wants 1 day for voting. They don't want to have opportunities for absentee ballots. They don't want to have the opportunity for extended voting, same-day registration, all of the things that empower young people and, yes, people of color and African Americans. This is a war on black people as it relates to voting. And unfortunately, it seems that the Supreme Court is now going to...
War on black people. War on black people. You hear the language they use. War on black people. You know what? We did not see this kind of color before Barack Hussein Obama. I have been, people have said things to me about some of my comments sounding racial. Folks, we did not see, I did not set up the skin color chart. I did not. I'm not responsible for the skin color chart. Okay? Black voters, war on black voters. Do you realize part of the war on black voters, okay? Part of war on black voters We're asking for you to have an identification card. Identification card. That's it. And that is something. Now, I want to play the other one because this has, it ties together the voter suppression. Let's play the Stacey Abrams one from MSNBC. Let's go back to that one. Do you have to reload that, or can you not get it to play? Can you tell me what, do you have to reload it, or can you get it to play? You're going to, sometimes when they go into the system, the way those videos are set up, they will not play. So we're going to see here, is Emily going to be able to put it back in and play that one? Because I really, really would love to run that so you can hear what she is saying there. Are we going to be able to run that one? Let me find out here. So anyhow, are you trying to get it to play? Just wait just a second before I change directions here.
Let's dig right into this. Shelby v. Holder, the decision that John Roberts and crew used to gut the Voting Rights Act came as a result of, after it was, gutted, almost immediately thereafter, I think the very next day, states started passing all of these restrictions on voting and making it harder and harder to vote. You then ran an election that was in that post-voting rights, full Voting Rights Act era. In your view, what are the current slate of laws, including in your home state of Georgia? How much worse can this get?
Joy, thank you for having me here. We know that the current slate of laws that are being prescribed across this country actually take us to what looks like post-Reconstruction Jim Crow era laws. And that's not hyperbolic. Essentially, what these laws would do is limit access to registration, access to casting a ballot, and access to vote, having that ballot counted, essentially pushing people, millions of people across the country, mainly black and brown people, out of the voting process. Saying that you can ban automatic voter registration means for millions of Americans, they will no longer be allowed to vote, to register, unless someone comes to find them. If you increase the photo ID requirements, there are millions of Americans who simply cannot meet those requirements because the underlying paperwork that they have to have either doesn't exist, is too expensive, or is too complicated to access. We know that again and again, these laws are designed for one specific purpose, and that is to discourage or prevent people from voting. And we know it's not just happening in the 9 states and 55 jurisdictions that were once covered by Section 5. It's happening across the country. And therefore, we are watching a nationwide sweep of voter suppression that is not only abysmal, it is counter to who we say we are as Americans. And in the wake of January 6th and that insurrection, our clinging to democracy should be forthright, and we should be demanding that we have equal access to democracy instead of cowering and letting anti-democratic forces steal the right to vote away from millions of Americans.
Yeah, I think of places like Texas where they just had this huge storm, and God knows how many people had flood damage, and maybe their papers have been washed away. And if you're throwing in voter ID, you're making it harder. Georgia, your state, they passed this bill where they tried to get rid of souls to the polls Sunday. They now left one Sunday in. You've got, in addition to doing that, you've got Arizona. They've got a bill to literally let the legislature throw out election results and put in their own slate of voters, own slate of electors. You've got, of course, Ron DeSantis, who's one of the kings of voter suppression. He wants to limit drop boxes, require registration for mail-in ballots. This is one of the states that is the best at doing mail-in voting. He wants to kill that and gut it. You just go on and on and on. What do you make of it's so obvious to me, Stacey, that they saw, except for Georgia, they saw Arizona and Georgia flip. And their response to that was to say, well, we can't let that happen again. And I say that to you, particularly given the praise that your state's Republican state elections officials got after they just refused to outright commit crimes to let Donald Trump have the victory.
Well, let's be clear. We were successful in Georgia in extraordinary ways. We were successful in Arizona, but we also mitigated voter suppression in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, across the country, where in the wake of not only the Voting Rights Act, evisceration, but also in the wake of the Obama election in 2008, we saw a bevy of attempts to restrict access to the right to vote. Georgia got more attention because it was the most egregious, and it was actually committed in broad daylight by the Secretary of State, now the governor of Georgia. And in Arizona and Florida, we have seen it again and again. But what we know is happening is that the Republican Party, and it's not the entire party, I don't believe yet, but they have to stand up and declare they are.
All right, can you hold that there? I know that video. Thank you, first of all, Emily, for getting that in. Thank you for getting that in. Hold that there. Did you hear the ridiculous reasons? Do you understand why I'm saying this? If you're out there this morning and you're saying we have to do some things, we have to put some things in place now, okay, to secure elections for the future, you know, you've got to realize this is the battle this week. They're out there fighting it. Did you hear that? They're not ending voter registration, okay? They're not ending that in Georgia. Let me just tell you, there's so much to go through on the bills, but we have the motor voter registration, right? And if you go and you get a driver's license, or you go to change the address on your license, now you're not even asked the question about registering to vote. You automatically you opt in, okay? You're in. You have to know what they're doing. They don't say to you, there's not a place you check off in your application when you change your address on your driver's license in Georgia or get a new one and register. When they say, oh, we just registered 70,000 new voters, that's kids. Every time you see young people come out and they've got a driver's license, they hold it up. Little do they know they just registered to vote, right? I mean, if I'm wrong, tell me. But now the bill that's in there would say you have to opt in. You have to decide to do it. Here now, currently, you have to opt out, meaning they never say anything at the DMV. They don't say, well, you're registering to vote. Well, we're going to change your registration for you. No, they just do it. And you have to know to opt out. Well, now they have to tell you what they're doing, and you have to opt in and make the decision yourself. Did you hear the ridiculous reason on registration? People can't register. They won't be able to register unless you go find them. Did you hear that? Listen to me very close, meaning we'll have to go find them is the way to register. Let me tell you something. If your ass is too sorry to find out where to register to vote or how to register to vote, okay, let me tell you, it's almost everywhere in the United States. People 80 years old are carrying these around. Yes, there's some that do not carry smartphones. I heard that the other day. I get it. But if you are at a point where you don't know how to go register to vote or call somebody to register to vote, or have a niece or a nephew or a grandchild or whatever, or your son or daughter and you're elderly and you want to register to vote, sorry. We would have to go find them to register them. Wow. ID, paperwork, may be non-existent. The cost, they don't have the money to get their paperwork together for ID. Do you hear the ridiculous reasons that they say it disenfranchised suppression? 43 states. Let's take a break. I'm going to come back. Now listen to this right here. Look at this right here, because here's what they're talking about. Okay? And we'll break this down, all right? In 56. This is the Arizona. It's the Voting Rights Act of the Voting Rights Act. Whenever you can get me 56, we'll talk about that when we come up. This is the case that's in the U.S. Supreme Court from Arizona. Okay. Primarily, let's say the South. So the United States Supreme Court struck down. Are you trying to size 56 to get it in there for me? Sometimes I send these. Please tell me I didn't forget to send it. You didn't send me 56. Okay, we're going to take a break and I'm going to come back. Make sure she gets all the pictures because I'm going to explain. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down the core of the Voting Rights Act in 2013, which required Arizona and other states with the history of disenfranchisement to get approval for proposed voting laws from the U.S. Department of Justice. Okay? Yes, we were under the thumb, primarily the South. Anytime we wanted to change voting laws, we had to get permission from the Department of Justice. The U.S. Supreme Court struck that down in 2013. We'll talk about that when we return. I'll send these over to you, Emily, right away.